Many people argue that by always acting in accordance with their values of right and wrong, a better world will inevitably result. There are situations, however, in which the ends justify the means, and the moralistic solution differs from the effective solution. Naturally, this causes controversy. On the one hand, there are people who find it impossible to sacrifice their fundamental moral values in an effort to achieve an end goal. And on the other hand, there are those who are more willing to sacrifice their personal beliefs for the greater good. One example of such a situation is elephant poaching. Researchers from Cornell placed audio recording devices in a forest in Africa in an attempt to collect data about elephant communication techniques. They inadvertently recorded their slaughter. All the more tragic is that elephants have been noted as experiencing the typically human emotions of love, compassion, sadness, and even grief. For this reason, many people cannot condone killing them, and have petitioned governments around the world to ban the practice. Not only is poaching immoral for its direct effect on elephants, but it is also immoral for enabling and exacerbating crime against humans. According to a 2012 news report by the New York Times, the Lord's Resistance Army, the Shabab, and Darfur's Janjaweed are hunting down elephants and using the tusks to buy weapons and sustain their wars. It was in 1970 that the poaching of elephants for their ivory proliferated due to the increased availability of automatic weapons to poachers. In the 1930s, the elephant population is estimated to have been between 7 and 10 million. Currently, the population totals somewhere around 300,000. That is less than 1% of the population that has survived over the past 8 decades. According to National Geographic, 90% of elephant deaths in Central Africa were caused by poaching in 2011. However, criminalizing poaching is not the only potential answer to this growing crisis. Since outlawing it has not been effective, some argue that the time has come to legalize poaching. It may seem counterintuitive, but this course of action is supported by sound economic principles. In general, when given the choice, people choose to act in whichever way will maximize their marginal benefit. This behavior, though natural, has led to what is called the tragedy of the commons. Basically, that means that when a good belongs to everyone, it belongs to no one. So people gain all the benefit of abusing it, while only bearing a fraction of the cost. Outlawing poaching prevents people from being able to take ownership of the animals, turning these gentle giants into common goods. In this case, an individual's marginal benefit of killing them far exceeds the marginal cost of extinction, and the mentality becomes, take as many as you can before they're gone. When the long-run incentive of keeping them alive becomes negligible in comparison to the short-run profits that can be made off the black market, the only thing standing between a poacher and his kill is the law. The barrier posed by laws, however, is only as strong as the groups dedicated to enforcing them. Considering the large transboundary expanses of land that make up elephant ranges, feasibility issues become evident. No single police force can adequately patrol such a large area, and the underfunded, under-equipped, and often corrupt forces currently designated to this task pose little deterrent. In the Democratic Republic of Congo's Garamba National Park, for example, it has come to light that local militias have taken an interest in the ivory trade. Although 140 armed rangers patrol the park daily, they have been outgunned by large militia groups, highlighting the inefficiency of law enforcement over even a relatively small area. A few African countries have legalized poaching in the past and have reaped the benefits. Prior to the 1989 global ivory trade ban, countries such as Zimbabwe and South Africa that allowed the legal sale of ivory enjoyed rising elephant populations, while countries in which it was banned, such as Kenya and Tanzania, continued to see populations dwindle. The reason for these surprising circumstances is that in countries where poaching and trade were legal, poachers realized that they could make higher profits by selling licenses to the animals. These licenses, though expensive, give holders something extraordinarily valuable. They give them the right to an elephant. Farmers, whose crops are regularly threatened by wandering elephants, can legally kill them, thus preventing crop destruction, and can sell the meat and ivory for profit. The money made, in addition to the saved harvest, makes the purchase of these licenses beneficial to even the poorest farmer. So with no shortage of demand for licenses, poachers had a far higher incentive to keep the animals alive. As a result, ex-poachers banded together and formed local watch groups to patrol a given radius. Not only did this effectively deter many poachers from slaughtering large numbers of elephants, but it also alleviated the pressure placed on national resources and law enforcement, since more people were suddenly committed to protecting elephants. The controversy of how best to deal with elephant poaching is unique, due to the fact that both sides are fighting for the same end, the protection of elephants. However, they each go about it in completely opposite ways. It stands to reason that acting upon good morals will yield good results, but, as one of the fundamental principles of economic states, good intentions do not guarantee good outcomes. There is a lack of stasis in the conversation about poaching, as one side is arguing the issue from a moralistic perspective, while the other is arguing from an economic perspective. It brings to light an interesting question. Is it more desirable to violate common moral values and increase elephant populations? Or is it best to stand by one's principles and hope that others will eventually see the light? The question is no longer about whether or not elephants should be saved, but about how best to do so.